So my name is Justin Shepherd and I'm a solutions consultant within Zaizi. I've been in IT for about 10 years now, helping different organisations solve business problems using technology, different process changes and also organisational changes as well. So today we're going to be talking through the evolution of the modern intranet, where we've come from and where we are today. And I'm also going to be joined by two of my colleagues, Abby and Niraj. Abby is our business analyst and Niraj is our senior software engineer. So, as an introduction, collaboration as we know it has changed dramatically over the years. It wasn't long ago that we had to make a concerted effort to connect with one another. Now, the same effort is required to disconnect. How do organisations continue to struggle? With employees, with customers, and with partners. Collaboration tools are both numerous and sophisticated, but are we really better off? If we have the tools, the technology and the will, then why aren't we doing a better job with collaboration with other organisations? In short, is a company that has a robust intranet and can truly work better together nothing more than a myth or a lofty goal to which we aspire but we never attain? In this webinar we'll tackle these questions and more, taking an in-depth look at why collaboration projects fail to meet our expectations and what organisations can do today to forge new connections, become more productive, increase employee engagement and build an intranet that fosters a culture for collaboration. So let's look at the evolution of the intranet and where it's come from. For far too long, intranets were viewed as the poorer relation to the website. The website, which is the external face of the company, was long perceived as having a greater impact on sales and therefore more imperative to business success. Meanwhile, the intranet was given a secondary place in comparison. I believe this downgrade of the intranet was due to a fundamental issue with the way the intranets traditionally operated, which made them ineffective and inefficient and subsequently redundant to a productive workforce. Intranets were managed by one person, usually in the IT team, who made a decision on what and when information is pushed out. The problem with this traditional approach is that far too often information is not tailored or suitable for individuals with different needs in the organisation. Intranets used to be accessible only to the employees at their desks. That meant a large screen, often a Windows operating system, we've all been there, and standard dimensions and colours. Thus, the intranet had to look good only on one type of machine. After all, why would an employee check work information at home in their free time? They certainly wouldn't have had access to mobile devices and browse the company's intranet on. Of course, the iPhone, smartphones and tablets have changed all that. Employees now want to be able to check their benefits, their schedules, sick pay and other information at any time on any device. They also do this on an array of devices across different operating systems. In the early days of intranets, companies would basically dump all the documents into the internal server, information such as press releases, legal documents, health insurance, employee handbooks and old blog posts. It was all just a dumping ground. Often it wasn't indexed, it wasn't categorised and it wasn't searchable. Without a direct link, employees had to sift through a lot of blurry scans and weirdly formatted pages to find useful information. Today, companies see an intranet as a repository for knowledge that can inform and engage employees. What a difference. Employees take the time to scan and index documents. People tag documents with descriptive words so that other employees can find them easily. Some organisations have implemented federated search, allowing one search to run through multiple databases. Others have made employees part of the knowledge base by connecting experts in different fields. Rather than searching from a normal database, workers search for a colleague who can provide answers to their need. We're going to take a look at some business cases, some of the practical usages for intranets. Now, the first up, we've chosen important internal communications. We often underestimate the value of a crisis communications strategy. That is, of course, until something goes wrong. And I don't just mean help the coffee machine isn't working. When an event occurs that threatens your company's reputation, your communications team needs the best tools in their arsenal to protect the brand and keep employees educated and informed. An intranet is one of the most effective tools to connect and engage employees, even without a crisis. So next up, we're going to look at human resources. Employee onboarding is one of the most underrated and overlooked processes. But if you don't properly train, if you don't properly educate, communicate, and connect with the employees during those first few critical weeks, then how can you expect to retain them? An intranet can play a critical role in employee onboarding, from accessing forms, to understanding departmental roles, to organisational clarity. It's knowledge worth investing in. Imagine how much more productive your HR staff could be if they weren't bogged down with new employees requesting information all the time that could easily be accessible by themselves. But an intranet can help more than just a few new employees. It can be a central repository for all HR documentation. Relying on individual HR staff to provide each employee with information on benefits and policies and procedures isn't just silly, it's also time-consuming, it's expensive and highly ineffective. Last but not least, let's look at some productivity. Intranets were once a place where documents went to die, but modern intranets are much more interactive than that. When your employees have their connections and information to hand right at their fingertips, they're much more effective on the job. If that information is organised and located in one central database, your workforce can stop wasting time and concentrate on other tasks. Also, having business critical information 24 hours a day, 24/7, facilitates learning and reduces the chances that employees will make mistakes due to inaccurate information. So, in closing, if these intranet use cases seem relevant or irrelevant in your workplace at the moment, look to the future. Does it include a distributed workforce? Do you have a global workforce? Might you in the future? Will some or all of your employees work remotely? Do you encourage flexible working? If so, what tools, what communication mediums should you invest in now to support where your business will be in 1, 3, 5 years' time? We know this is a really common topic for organisations looking to create business cases for intranets. The business wants to know what the value is in these intranets. That's where we come in. We'd love to come and help you build that out. So we'd love to hear from you if you wish to discuss further. But without further ado, let's have a look at this in practice. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Abby, who's going to go through a life of the day of John. John is an employee within a business, and we're going to see how an intranet could actually aid him at work. Abby, thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin, for your wonderful introduction. I'm Abinya, the business analyst in Zaizi Asia. Now, let me introduce Mr. John, who recently joined ABC Company as a new IT trainee. He is very excited to explore his new work. Also, his manager, Scott, is helping him on his day-to-day task. So when John started working, he realized that he couldn't find the required information and he didn't have a clue whom to contact to get the right information. Also, since his colleagues were geographically dispersed, it was not an easy task for him to contact them whenever required. He found a lot of information from different data sources, but still he couldn't find the right information. Also, sometimes he didn't have access to view them. So now he is annoyed. And as a result, his performance started to reduce. Now, how can we help him to solve all his problems? Let me introduce Niraj, who is going to demonstrate our Zaizi solution. Zaizi's secure intranet with the flexibility of Drupal frontend and the power of Alfresco to manage the entire organization content effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhi. Welcome everyone to the demo of the webinar. Before I start, let me give you some background of the systems and the frameworks we use. First of all, we use Drupal for the front end of the system. Drupal is a content management system written in PHP. It's also a PHP framework, except for being a content management system. And we are using a document management system called Alfresco as our backend, and also we are using identity provider, which users which we use to actually manage the users. So the advantage of using identity provider is so that we can integrate multiple systems into it, and we can sign on in one go, which is called actually single sign on. So for the single sign on process, or because of the single sign-on process, we have multiple advantages, like sharing permissions between systems, and and also because we are using identity provider, we can integrate multiple user repositories like Active Directory, so that we don't have to individually add the users to the systems. So by integrating all the systems, the main advantage is the user doesn't have to use multiple user interfaces. Rather, they can use one system. In this case, it's Drupal, to do all their work. So it's everything in one place. So without further ado, I'll start from where Abhi finished the demo. So John is in a lot of trouble. He was in a lot of stress because he couldn't find stuff, and he didn't know what to do. So we will introduce John to our new intranet and see how he copes up with it. So let's log in. So the single sign-on, while we log in, we are logging into multiple systems here, but what John will see is only the Drupal front end. So John logs in. There is not much happening because John is still new to the system and he doesn't see a lot of data. So what I'll do is I'll switch back to another browser, which I will use for the demo. And on this browser, the logged in user is Scott. So Scott is John's manager, and he is also an administrator for the systems. So he can do a lot of stuff than John. So I'm going to do a couple of things so that John feels welcome to the company, and he will feel the power of the intranet. So what I'm going to first do is I'll first take you through the blocks of the home page and what the home page can do, and then we will start making John feel like home, right? So as you can see, there are multiple data blocks on the home page. All blocks serves different purposes. The block at the left side, left top, is the news block, which is publicly available content for all users. And coming down, we have the activity stream. So the importance of the activity stream is that it pulls out activities from all integrated systems. So in this case, it's Alfresco and Drupal. So the first activity you see, it's a Alfresco activity. Second, again Alfresco. Third, that's a Drupal activity, again a Drupal, so on. So we have activities from both the systems, which is pretty cool. And also we, as I told you, Alfresco is a document management system, and what users will do is they will add documents, different documents to Alfresco. So this activity says that Scott, this particular user itself, has added a file to Alfresco. So I will click on this link and should actually open the particular document in Alfresco. So since we have used a single sign-on mechanism, it should open the document straight away without the need of logging into the system. So it's the real document here, and as you can see, as I told you, it's the real thumbnail. So I'll just maximize. If you can see, it's actually the real thumbnail from the document as well. So that's the activity streams. So next you've got the tasks assigned for Scott, and in the middle you will see a Facebook like form where the users will post posts and Q&As, wikis, polls, and so on, right? And they can actually post to specific groups, or they can even post to trusted contacts. And coming to the right hand side, you will see a dynamically added data block. We actually use the Twitter feed to fill in the data for this block. So this is to show that Drupal also can, display dynamically filled data blocks. And then you've got your event calendar and your upcoming events, site contributors, and so on, right? So you've got all these on your home page. Really cool that you could do on the home page is also change layout. So what you would do is go to the bottom of the page, click on the change layout button. So right now you'll see a 3-column layout. So you can actually change it to 2 columns or like a box kind of a view. And so once you do this, what you will have to again do is actually reorganize your data blocks. So I'll not do that right now because it will take some time. And you can also change the way and order your blocks are displayed in. So let's say you want the upcoming blocks right at the top, so you can just drag and drop stuff like that, and you'll have your upcoming blocks. So I'll not save that for the moment. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm first going to make John feel welcome. So what I'll do is I'll first add him to a group so that he can see more content. So this is a private group, and the content of this group can be only viewed by the members of this group. So I'm going to add John to this group. Just go to add people. Now let's say John, let's find him. There you go. Smith. I'll say welcome, and I'll just add him. So this will actually create an email notification which will actually provide John with a link to the group. But for the demo purpose, I will just switch back, and I'll do one more thing. I will also add a task for John as a workflow and assign it to him, so that he will also see a task under my tasks block on his window. So go to Alfresco, go to tasks, I'll open my tasks, I'll start a workflow, and I'll go new workflow. I'll say this is a KT session, and I will say it's due on the 30th. Select. All the users are on both the systems, so I can just easily add John, assign the task, and start the workflow. So I've added John to the group, I've added the task to him. So I'll go switch back to John's window, refresh. I should see more data for him on the home window. So as you see, the KT session is already here, and John knows it's due on the 30th. So he's got it on his calendar as well, so he'll know the due dates, and he's got an upcoming event, and he sees the site contributors and so on, right? So the next section I'll take you through is the documents section. So the document browser is actually mapped into a particular alfresco folder, which I will show you pretty soon. So John does not need to change systems to see the folder, since we've integrated the system. So this is the alfresco folder, and John will see this. So he'll see the exact contents in the same interface. So as you can see, he does not open alfresco. So I will go into one of the folders. Another thing we've done is, since we've integrated the systems, we can use the best of all worlds. We can use the power of both the systems. So here we've taken that into use. So we can view documents on the document browser itself. So then a user might ask, what about the Word documents or the Excel sheets? We use the power of alfresco for this. We tell alfresco to convert these Word documents or Excel sheets into PDFs and send it back to us, so that we can view it on the browser itself, like as a PDF. So we are using a plugin called the pdf.js plugin for the document viewing purposes. So as you can see, you can just read through the documents. And another thing is, we can also add annotations. So this is a previous annotation that a user has added already. So I will go ahead and just add one more annotation. So annotations are actually comments that users make in documents, so that the other users reading the document will take it into use and take something out of it. So I'll say test comment demo, save it. So it will also be saved as annotation, so any other user opening this particular document will also see the particular annotation. Right, let's close the document. So that's what we've done on the document browser. So similarly, like alfresco, you can upload documents and drag and drop them, and all sort of things you can do with this browser. Even you can just filter documents. So wrong filter, I'll just go for Acquia. So there you go. And to show you how easily we can manage permissions and how the systems or the integrated systems acts independently. So I will go into alfresco again. So I'm on Scott's screen again. So Scott thinks that John should not be going into the Drupal folder. So what he does is, he goes manage permissions. What he does is, he removes permissions for users on the Drupal folder. So I'll say yes, and I'll save. So John should not be able to see the Drupal folder anymore. Let's refresh, and he does not see the Drupal folder. So that's how how the systems act independently, and that's how easy it is to manage the permissions in different systems. And let's go back to the home screen now. Now I'm going to show another feature that we have implemented, which is conducting meetings. So let's go back to Scott's screen. So Scott is a manager and John is new to the company, and Scott needs John to complete a particular certification since he's a trainee. So what Scott does is, he creates a meeting so that they can discuss what John needs to do. So I'm going to meetings. I'm going to create the meeting first before I start it. So I'm going to say no, don't join. Create the meeting first. I'm going to call this Drupal exam discussion, and I'm going to attach the particular document from Alfresco itself. So we can do this. Go into the Drupal folder. Since it's a Drupal exam, oops, sorry, go back. I'm going to choose this particular file and attach it, and I'm going to say let's discuss. Okay, and I'm going to save this. So now everything should be saved, and we are ready to start the meeting. So we are using a JavaScript plugin for this called Together.js, and we will use this to start the meeting. So start the meeting, and yes, join session. So I want to invite John, so I get the invite link. Since I'm using multiple browsers on the same PC, I will just change the browser and just paste the link. So now John should also join the meeting. Yes, join session. Now as you can see, John is on the meeting. So this is Scott's window again. So he sees John and they start a conversation. So you can start a conversation here by clicking the mic icon, and let's assume they start the conversation. Since I'm doing the demo, I cannot start a particular conversation here. So they start the conversation and they start discussing things. So while discussing, Scott wants John to take in notes. So Scott tells John that he needs to do the exam in 1 month. So John puts in a note, do the exam in 1 month. And Scott also gives him details to register. So register for the exam on the Acquia website, and so on. So they can so this is also Scott can see these notes in real time. So if I switch back to Scott's window, see, he can see what John typed in, and they can also chat if they want. So you can say hi, and you can go here, he will see the notification, say hey, and so on. So it's real-time collaboration. They can just once they end the meeting, so Scott started the meeting, so what he'll do is he will end the session and save, so that they can go and revisit the notes. Even John can go and revisit the notes and see what they discussed and all these things. So John will also end session. Go back to the home page. So these are the features that we have for the demo today. So I would like to actually open the floor for questions, and if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. So thank you again for joining our webinar.